A beautiful young woman finds love in a rising star athlete, but little does she know that love wasn't in his plans. You think you know someone, but you really don't. This is the story of Cherica Adams and Rae Carruth. Before I get any further into this video, I'm Courtney Elise, aka Court Crimes TV, and welcome to my channel. If you happen to enjoy, please like, subscribe, and comment. Let's get into the video. Cherica Adams was born to parents Sandra Adams and Jeff Mooney on June 30th, 1975 in Kings Mountain, North Carolina. Once the two found out they were having a little girl, Sandra immediately started thinking of unique names. She knew her daughter was going to grow up and be someone special, so she immediately started thinking of what to name her child. Her first option was the name Eureka, after the vacuum cleaner. But she didn't really want her child to be associated with cleaning and dirt and muck. So she was like, never mind with that. She eventually kept thinking of a name when she was like, you know what, my favorite singer is Cher, and I still love the name Eureka. What about Cherica? And that's how Cherica became a thing. Just a little fun fact for y'all. Sandra and Jeff would unfortunately split up, and at the young age of 17, Sandra was left to raise Cherica on her own. Obviously, being a teenager with a baby, it was challenging, but thankfully, her parents were there every step of the way. Since her parents were helping to raise Cherica, Sandra was able to graduate high school and go off to college. Sandra would eventually graduate from the University of North Carolina. She was a Tar Heel. She was what Michael Jordan was. She was big time. And once she graduated from college, her and Cherica would move to Charlotte, North Carolina and start their life. Growing up, Cherica was described as a very, very smart little girl. So it came to no one's surprise when she grew up to be a very educated young woman. Cherica would graduate high school, and she would even attend the same college that her mother went to, which was the University of North Carolina. While there, she majored in communications, but she also had a job on the side as a real estate agent, which she excelled in. But that wasn't Cherica's only source of income. Cherica was a very beautiful young woman, and she was always complimented on her looks. So on the side of real estate, she did some modeling and some small acting roles. Fun fact, she was also in the movie House Party 3. Being within the modeling and acting industry, Cherica was able to get into those quote-unquote elite circles, meaning she got to rub shoulders with a lot of celebrities like actresses, actors, athletes, singers, and many more. While at one of these parties, she would end up running into Rae Carruth. Rae Carruth was an up-and-coming NFL player for the Carolina Panthers. In 1997, Rae was selected 27th in the first round of the NFL draft. He had a reasonably good rookie year. He put up 545 yards and 4 touchdowns. These numbers would lead him to be selected to the all-rookie team at wide receiver. So Rae was doing really good for himself and making a name for himself in the NFL world. Now back to the party. Once Rae and Cherica met, the two immediately connected. They were together the entire night at this party. The two of them talked, they flirted, and they just couldn't stay away from each other. They literally connected within hours. Now nearing the end of the party, the two didn't want to split up. So Cherica decided, you know what, I really, really like this dude. Let me take him back to my house so he can meet my father. This was absolutely out of the ordinary for Cherica, but she just felt something different for Rae, so she introduced him to her family. The two would start to date, and their relationship was amazing. But Rae, even though he had feelings for Cherica, Rae had a wandering eye. Rae was young, he was successful, he was an NFL player, but Rae was also known as a playboy. He loved talking to different women, and Cherica was not the only person Rae was involved with, unfortunately. He's young, he's rich, he's good looking. To some people, in my opinion, he's ugly. He's got this long, odd shaped head, this huge forehead. He looks like Thurgood Stubbs from the PJs. He's not attractive anyway, in my opinion, but women flocked to him, and Rae had options. He had feelings for Cherica, but he also wanted his cake and eat it too. You know what I'm saying? Now, like I mentioned earlier, Rae was a womanizer. He had his picks and chooses, but Rae also had a child from a previous relationship. During his sophomore year of college, Rae would end up getting a woman pregnant by the name of Michelle. And during this pregnancy, he made life for Michelle hell. Rae told her he didn't want this child and he would tell her to get an abortion. But Michelle was like, it takes two to tango. I did not make this child by myself. You are going to somehow take responsibility for this child. And she ended up taking Rae to court, suing him for child support, and won. This made Rae mad, but Rae would step up and pay child support. He didn't have any connection to the child. He would just end up paying $2,700 a month in child support. And Rae did not like this at all. Rae would pay what he needed to pay in child support, and he would continue his life as an NFL player and continue being a boyfriend to Cherica. But things would start to take a turn. Rae would start his second year with the Carolina Panthers, but his second year was nothing compared to his rookie year. You see, during one of his games during his second year, Rae would unfortunately break his ankle. Due to him breaking his ankle, this would cause Rae to be out for the entire season. This took a toll on Rae. His play steadily declined, and people said that this injury changed him. The couple would also face some more turmoil during their relationship because 7 months into dating, Cherica would end up pregnant. This pregnancy came as a surprise, but Cherica was happy. She was excited because she was having her first baby. Overjoyed with this news, Cherica would immediately run and tell Rae, the father of this baby. And she was shocked at Rae's demeanor about this. Rae was not happy. Rae was not happy at all. In fact, Rae became angry at Cherica for getting pregnant. Just like he did the first woman, Michelle Wright, the first lady who had his child. He started to tell Cherica all types of things. He was very upset that she was pregnant with his child. And to make sure she was indeed pregnant, Rae set up a doctor's appointment to confirm that she was pregnant, which it did. This confirmation infuriated Rae. He blamed her for getting pregnant. He told her that you trapped me for my money. I don't understand this dude, He's out here having all this unprotected sex. He's getting women pregnant and he blames them for getting pregnant. You're old enough to know how a child is conceived. Stop being reckless if you don't want a child. I don't understand people like that. And he ought to be happy people actually want him, because if it wasn't for his riches and his fame and what he does, people would not be checking for him, because like I said, he's got this bottle shaped head. This dude's ugly in my opinion, and he has the audacity to be mean and hateful to women when they get pregnant with his child. Come on now. He told her angrily that he's already paying for one child that he doesn't want. Why should he have to have another child? He does not want another child. He told her cold-heartedly to have an abortion. Rae was being so nasty, and you could even say evil, to Cherica, all because she was pregnant, all because the two of them made a child. He was being so nasty to her that he would constantly tell her, I don't even think that child is mine. He was constantly questioning if this child was even his. He was constantly pressuring her into getting an abortion, which is sick on so many levels. Okay, you created this child. I don't understand it. Thankfully, Cherica didn't listen to Rae, and she said, I'm keeping this child. If you don't want to be in my life, fine, but I'm not killing my child. This is my baby. Rae was obviously cool with that, and they split. Once the two went their separate ways, this started to really open Cherica's eyes. The man she once loved, the man who she introduced to her father on the first night they met, was not the man she once knew. She saw him as a horrible person. Cherica was alone during the majority of her pregnancy. Rae was nowhere to be found, and aside from her parents and friends, that was her support system, and that's all she needed. She didn't need Rae's negativity around her during this time, during a time where she's supposed to be happy and excited. She didn't need his old egghead looking self around. It was during this time Cherica found out she was having a baby boy. She was so excited about this news that the thought of Rae even coming back into her life and the two of them being a nice little happy family totally went out the window. She was fine with the life of just her and her baby boy. The thought of Rae and Cherica ever becoming a family was out of the picture. Cherica was completely over it. Fast forward to November 14th of 1999. Cherica is now 8 months pregnant. You know, it's almost due time. And she receives a phone call. And the person who is calling is none other than Rae Carruth. On the phone call, Rae would ask Cherica if she wanted to go out on a date to the movies. Now, for Cherica, this is coming way out of left field because the two have not communicated since Rae told her he didn't want to be a father and he didn't want this baby. So for him to just call out of nowhere was weird. You know, she had been doing it on her own for the last 8 months. So for Rae to just call her out of nowhere was wild to her. Like I said in the beginning, Rae was a womanizer, and I'm pretty sure Rae, while on the phone, he sweet talked his way back into Cherica's life. He told her he was sorry and, you know, the baby is almost here. I want to be there for my child. I want to be a family. And unfortunately, Cherica fell for it and let him back in. She thought this would be good for the both of them. She thought this would be healthy for the both of them to reconcile and be cordial with the baby on the way. So she decides to take him up on his offer and go to the movies. And the movie that the two went to go see was the movie The Bone Collector. Just thought I'd throw that in there. She meets Rae at his house and they ride to the movies together. Once at the movies, they meet up with one of Rae's friends and one of his girlfriends, one of Rae's friend's girlfriend. So it ends up becoming a cute little double date. They go see the movies and they end up having a good time with one another. The date was a success. Towards the end of the date, they decide to go back to Cherica's house. But before they go back to Cherica's house, they have to go back to Rae's house to get Cherica's car. Once Cherica gets her car, she starts to follow Rae back to her house. Cherica's behind Rae and Rae is leading the way. While Cherica's driving, she calls her cousin and tells her that Rae is coming over and to make sure that the house is clean and tidy. While Cherica is following Rae, Rae is going on these back roads. You know, he's driving on these back roads of Charlotte, and all of a sudden, Rae just stops out of nowhere. And little does Cherica know, unfortunately, she was being followed. All of a sudden, a Gold Maximum pulls up and starts letting off shots. Cherica was shot 4 times. And instead of Rae immediately jumping out of the car to go check on his pregnant girlfriend who he's trying to get back with and supposedly trying to become a family man with, Rae just pulls off. He immediately flees the scene. Cherica, who has just been shot and abandoned by the father of her child, works up the strength to drive to a nearby neighborhood and call police.
You've been shot. Where are you at, mate?
I'm 8 months pregnant.
How'd this happen?
I was following my baby daddy, Rae Carruth, football player.
Where's he
He was
at?
in the car in front of me and he slowed down and put my foot up beside me and did this.
And then where'd he go?
He threw a lap. I think he did it. I don't know what to think of.
The ambulance arrives to the scene and rushes Cherica to the hospital. By the time she arrives to the hospital, Cherica is in a coma and is in critical condition. You can only imagine what doctors saw once paramedics rushed Cherica into the hospital. She was losing tons of blood, she was in a coma, and on top of that, she was 8 months pregnant. The doctors, I'm sure, were not prepared at all for the state of what Cherica was in. It was a very strong possibility that 2 people were going to lose their life that night, Cherica and the baby. So doctors had to work fast. While in a coma, doctors decide to take Cherica in for an emergency C-section to try and save her baby. While the doctors are operating on Cherica, they start to think that they might actually lose her. Her condition was so bad. That's just how bad Cherica's condition was. They thought they were about to lose her. They're trying to stay optimistic, but it's not looking good at all. During surgery, Sandra arrives, and you can only imagine what this lady is going through. You know, her daughter is literally fighting for her life, and her grandbaby, who's literally due the next month, is also fighting for his life. She is just overwhelmed with emotion, and during the midst of all this chaos, Sandra tries to call Rae because he is the father of her child and he needs to know what's going on with Cherica and the baby. So she's calling and Rae's not answering. She's constantly calling him, trying to get in touch with him, and her calls are going unanswered. I can only imagine just how frustrated this is making her. You know, why isn't he answering? She knows he was just with her. Why aren't you answering? Meanwhile, in the operating room, doctors are monitoring Cherica and her baby. And unfortunately, it wasn't looking too good. But after 70 minutes in the operating room, baby Chancellor was born. He was born prematurely and he only weighed 3 pounds. He was also born with cerebral palsy and he also had brain damage due to him being deprived of oxygen for 10 whole minutes. Cherica was also on life support at this time. Now at around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, Rae finally decides to arrive at the hospital. But he didn't arrive alone. Nah. He had to arrive with an entourage. And also he had the audacity to arrive with another female on his arm. When he arrived at the hospital, he didn't even acknowledge Sandra. You know, he didn't even look her way. He just walked right past her. This probably, no, not even probably, I know this disgusted Sandra, especially seeing him come in with all these people and with a whole nother woman, knowing he was just with her daughter the previous night. While there, Rae's whole demeanor was just weird. He shows absolutely no concern for Cherica. Like, he asks no questions about the woman he was just with, the woman who was just pregnant with your child, who just delivered your child. He shows no concern. He's very unbothered and just very calm. It's weird. The nurses then bring Rae into the NICU to see his son. While back there, they ask Rae if he wants to hold his son, and Rae is like, nah, I just want to get some pictures and leave. Rae then takes his pictures and leaves, still not acknowledging Sandra and still not acknowledging Cherica. Cherica is literally laying in another room on life support after delivering your child, and you have no questions to ask the doctor, like, is she okay? Is she gonna survive? What's going on? Nothing. He just leaves and still ignores Sandra. This is when Sandra started to think that Rae had something to do with the shooting. The following day, you know, baby Chancellor is now safely delivered. You know, he's still being monitored by doctors because he's only 3 pounds. He was born prematurely and he has all these conditions. Cherica shocks everyone and starts to regain consciousness. Remember, the night before, she was totally out of it. You know, they didn't think if she was gonna make it the night before. You know, she was pretty bad off. She was nowhere near her previous condition before she got shot. She was shot in her intestines, her liver, and her stomach. She lost 6 liters of blood and had damage to her spleen. The doctors were very optimistic about her chances of survival, but like I said, they were just happy she was regaining some consciousness. Now back to Rae. Sandra would report Rae to the police because she just couldn't shake the feeling of Rae having something to do with Cherica's shooting. His whole demeanor was off when she saw him at the hospital, so she had to report his actions to the police. And fortunately for her, police had their suspicions of Rae as well because he was not acting normal at all either. You know, they say Rae wasn't acting like a man whose mother of his child was just shot. You know, he was acting way too calm and way too relaxed when he should be panicking to see if his child is okay, if the mother of his child is okay. And he was showing no signs of concern, and this was suspicious to them. Since Cherica is now conscious, they decide to go and talk to Cherica. Now mind you, they can't get much out of Cherica because she has all these tubes down her throat. She's hooked up to everything and she's still not in a really good condition, but she was able to write. One of the notes that Cherica wrote to police while being questioned was that she was following Rae back to her house, and all of a sudden Rae just stopped out of nowhere, and then a gold car pulled up on side of her. After that, she remembers nothing. She also tells police, while writing it down, she tells them she thinks Rae had something to do with it. She also mentioned that while she called police after she was shot.
He did whatever. I think he did it. I don't know what to think.
After getting as much information as they could out of Cherica, they bring Rae in for questioning. But getting Rae to talk wasn't easy. He was very uncooperative and lawyered up quickly. But even though Rae got an attorney, a very good one might I add, somehow police still get Rae in for questioning. I guess to ease the environment, because I'm pretty sure it's very tense. They start to ask Rae about his relationship with Cherica. You know, they ask him the usual, I'm guessing how they met, how long were they together, and then finally they get into the night of the shooting. They start to question him about his phone records during that night. During the night of the shooting and after the shooting, Rae made several phone calls to one particular person named Michael Kennedy. While asking Rae about his phone records, Rae is trying to play dumb. He's trying to act clueless, as if he doesn't know who Michael Kennedy is and he doesn't know why this man's number is in his phone constantly. Obviously, Ray's not talking. He's playing stupid. Actually, I don't think he's playing stupid. Rae is stupid. Okay, he's very stupid. With Rae not talking, they decide to go to the man Rae was talking to. They go to Michael Kennedy himself. And once they get him into the station, this man started singing like a canary. Michael told police everything. He told them how they met, where they met, when they met, and why they met. He was talking. He told them initially Rae went to his house to ask him for a favor. Rae tells Michael that he's looking for a specific type of car. He wanted one not too flashy, not too flamboyant, not too over the top. He wanted one that was plain. He wanted one that wasn't very noticeable. So on the morning of the shooting, Michael lets Rae borrow his car. But something isn't sitting right with Michael, because Rae was a very flashy person. He loved flaunting his wealth. So for Rae to ask Michael for an old beat up car, pretty much a rock rental, was weird. So Michael goes to Rae's house and asks him, why do you need this car? And this is when Rae proceeds to tell Michael his plan. Rae, very straightforward, tells Michael that he needs to kill Cherica. Now Michael is taken back. You know, he's looking at Rae to see if he's serious. But as he's looking at Rae, he sees that Rae is dead serious. No joking. He says that Rae then goes on this rant about how he already has one child, he doesn't need another one, he doesn't want to pay another $3,000 for a child that he doesn't want, and he doesn't want to be with Cherica. He needs to kill her. That was his wonderful plan. Rae then tells Michael that he wants him and another man by the name of Van Watkins to follow and shoot Cherica. Rae assigns Michael as the driver and he assigns Van as the shooter. Now about this Van dude, okay, Van Watkins. This dude was crazy, okay? He was a security guard, but he was known to be a lot more than a security guard, okay? He was pretty wild. Before the plan of killing Cherica, Rae initially contacted Van about beating up a pregnant woman until she loses the baby. And this is when Van responds back to Rae and says, I don't beat people up, I kill them. And instead of Rae being like, no, I don't want you to kill her, you know, I just want you to beat this baby out of her because I don't want a child. Rae didn't say that. Rae was like, sure, alright, that's even better. Once they agree to this, Rae pays $3,000 to Van so he can kill Cherica. But Van would tell Rae that he needs a gun. So let me get this straight. You don't want to pay $3,000 a month in child support for your child, but you're willing to pay a man, a grown man, $3,000 to kill your child and the mother of your child. Plus, the man you're hiring to kill your child and your child's mother doesn't even have a gun. Make it make sense. Rae tells Van, don't worry, I know exactly where to get a gun. Rae then goes back to Michael, and this is when Michael gives Rae a gun, and this is how the shooting comes to plan. The plan was for Rae to take Cherica out on a date, be fake, and act as if he's so sorry and he's gonna take fatherhood seriously. Please give me another chance. All the while he's plotting her death. And then towards the end of the date, while Cherica's following Rae, this is when Michael and Van pull up on side Cherica and shoot her. The plan was to make sure that Cherica and the baby were both dead. That's why Van shot Cherica so many times. When I tell you Michael gave detectives more than enough information. I'm pretty sure detectives were like, dang, we ain't know all this was about to happen. But thank you very much. With all of this information on Van, they proceed to go and arrest him. And while in for questioning, Van denies everything. Of course he does. You know, he kills people. He doesn't beat people, he kills people. So why would he go into the police station and openly admit that he did this? Why would he start talking? You know, he's a hard dude. You know, why would he start talking? But I guess after 7 hours of interrogation, Van got tired and he started to break. Van told detectives that he and Rae met while Van was doing a security job. Van tells detectives that Rae would give him $3,000 to act out the hit on Cherica. He also tells detectives that after he and Rae met, he tried to kill Cherica numerous times. He had been stalking her for a while after they met, but he said at those times he just couldn't do it. He just could not bring himself to kill a pregnant woman. Yeah, okay, back to Cherica. At this time, she had been in the hospital for a month, and sad to say, she was showing no signs of improvement. This is when Sandra, her mother, makes the heartbreaking decision to take her daughter off of life support. I know this had to be hard for Sandra because she's a good woman, and I'm pretty sure in the back of her mind she wanted there to be hope, but it just wasn't looking good. So she did what was best. And on December 15th of 1999, Cherica would pass away. Her official cause of death was multi-organ failure due to the gunshot wounds. Now, I forgot to mention a while back that Rae actually did get arrested while the investigation was going on. He was arrested and placed on a $3 million bond, to which he easily bailed himself out because he was rich. Now, when he was released, police made it very clear to Rae that if Cherica or Chancellor were to pass away, a warrant would be sent out for his arrest. And fast forward to Cherica actually passing away, they indeed put out a warrant for Rae's arrest. This warrant was out and Rae immediately went on the run. Rae went on the run with some female and a nationwide manhunt ensued. Someone spotted Rae. He wasn't very hard to notice. He had a very Patrick Star type of head. Someone spotted him in Tennessee and tipped off police. Police would end up going to this particular motel where they were tipped off, and they would just sit there and watch and wait. Now, I'm pretty sure waiting for Rae to come out was like watching paint dry, because they didn't know what type of car he was in, and they didn't know what room he was in. They didn't know anything. They just knew he was in this hotel off of a tip. Finally, they see his female friend come out, and this is when they swarm her and rush her back into the motel room. While in the room, they're questioning his girlfriend, and they're also searching every corner of this motel room. But for some reason, there's no sign of Rae anywhere. This is when they look at his girlfriend and they tell her point blank, either you tell us where he's at or you're going to be charged right along with him. She cracks and she's like, alright, I'm going to take y'all to the car. He's in the trunk. Lo and behold, hiding in the trunk was Rae. He went without resisting and he was taken back to North Carolina in police custody. Rae was then charged with first-degree murder. Rae went from living a life people could only dream of. He went from living his dream, being rich, playing the sport he grew up loving, to hiding out in a trunk surrounded by urine bottles. You know, he was peeing in water bottles. That was his life. Rae's life as an NFL player was over. He was immediately cut from the Carolina Panthers and he was banned from the NFL permanently. So now that Rae is back in Carolina, Rae, of course, denies everything. You know, Rae's defense tries to say that this was a drug deal gone wrong because Michael was in fact dealing with drugs and Van was also dealing and dabbling with drugs. And they said, unfortunately, Cherica got caught in the crossfire. The jury wasn't buying it because Michael told everything under the sun and Van also told everything. Also, if that's not bad enough, Rae's past girlfriends came back, and Rae's past actions came back to haunt him. One of his ex-girlfriends said that Rae actually got her pregnant, and when she told Rae that she was pregnant, Rae immediately got angry with her and started to threaten her life and tell her if she doesn't get rid of this baby, he can have her killed. You know, Rae just was reckless. He didn't want children, but he was out here impregnating women, having all this he was just, ugh. He also made his past girlfriends get abortions as well. His exes said that he had a dark side to him. You know, Rae was known to be very calm and have a calm demeanor, and people liked him. But his exes said that Rae had a very dark side to him when things didn't go his way. And after all of this, trial lasted only 3 months, and Rae was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. His sentence was only 18 years and 11 months. I personally think he should have gotten more, because he literally planned to kill his baby and the mother of his child, and succeeded in killing the mother of his child. Michael was sentenced to 11 years. I'm assuming because Michael came in without hesitation and told everything. You know, he gave police the rundown. While Van was sentenced to 40 to 50 years in prison. Now, a couple years before Rae was released, he made headlines. This old Beavis and Butthead looking dude had the audacity, had the nerve to request for full custody of Chancellor. Now, let me get this straight. You had his mother killed because you didn't want him. He literally has serious disabilities because of you, and now you want to take him away from his grandmother, the woman who has been raising him since he was a baby, since he was 3 pounds. You want to take him away from her, someone who he loves, someone who she loves, she cherishes him. Come on now. Obviously Sandra wasn't going for it. You know, she didn't even entertain it. She did interviews about it, but she made it very clear that Rae was not getting any type of custody of Chancellor. Once he received all this backlash, this Humpty Dumpty looking dude decided to quickly change his mind and go back into hiding. Rae was released in 2018. He made a quick release. There is footage of him being released from jail, and he quickly got into his car and was gone. After his release, there has been no word of him. He has not made any noise in the news, in the headlines. He has been quiet. But as for Sandra, Cherica's mom, I applaud her, because I know it has to be hard that her child, her baby, lost her life. And she took on her grandbaby who has special needs. You know, he has disabilities. And she took him on with open arms, and she loved this child, and he's always happy, he's always smiling. You know, she's taken him to Panthers games, he's been honored at Panthers games, and he just looks amazing. He's walking, like, she did a really good job raising him, and just like she did with Cherica. And I can do nothing but applaud her, because she is an amazing woman, a gift from God to Chancellor. You know, rest in peace, Cherica. Your baby is down here doing amazing, because his wonderful grandmother is there with him every step of the way. Rest in peace, Cherica.